Last Thursday, at 3:17 in the afternoon, I opened my mother's cedar jewelry box and found an empty envelope where $47,000 in cash was supposed to be. If you believe Maggie did the right thing standing up for her mother's dignity, leave a heart in the comments. And if you've ever been betrayed by family, share your story below. I read everyone. My hands shook so badly, I almost dropped the lid on my foot. That money wasn't just savings. It was the stash Mom told me, on her hospital bed, she wanted hidden away for her funeral and burial. That's when I realized my own sister had taken it and lied straight to my face about Mom's dying wish. 5 minutes later, I called the lawyer. I should probably tell you who I am. My name is Margaret Davis, though most people just call me Maggie. I'm 62 years old, a retired elementary school teacher from upstate New York. For nearly 4 decades, I taught second graders how to read, how to tie their shoes, and how to treat each other with kindness. After retiring, my life slowed down, but taking care of my mother became my full-time job. Mom was 87, frail, and living in the same house she and my father bought back in 1964. The walls were filled with family pictures, birthdays, Christmas mornings, graduations. That house wasn't just lumber and paint. It was her whole story. And I was proud that I could make her final years dignified and comfortable. I don't have much in the way of wealth myself, just a modest pension and Social Security. No children of my own, no husband anymore. It's just me and my little terrier, Benny. My sister, Linda, is 5 years younger. She's always been the glitter of the family. Expensive handbags, salon nails every 2 weeks, new SUV every 3 years. She works in real estate and flaunts commission checks like trophies. But when it came to caring for Mom, that was conveniently left to me. Still, I forgave her for her selfishness, because I believed family was sacred. I thought, no matter what, when it came to honoring Mom's last wishes, Linda might finally put money aside and show some respect. At least, that's what I thought. Because when you're the daughter who sacrifices sleep, retirement hobbies, and your own health to care for someone, you expect the one thing you deserve is honesty. What I had to lose wasn't just money. It was Mom's dignity, my trust in the only sister I had left, and maybe even the last thread holding our family together. And that's what makes what she did all the more unforgivable. It happened 2 weeks after Mom's funeral. The house was quiet, the flowers from the service already wilting in their vases. I was sitting in the dining room, sorting through Mom's paperwork, the smell of old envelopes mixed with the faint lavender of her favorite lotion still lingering on the tablecloth. Linda breezed in, wearing her oversized sunglasses, even though the sun had already set. She had that impatient clip to her heels, that glossy smell of fresh nail polish. "Maggie," she said, tossing her purse onto the chair like she owned the place. "We need to talk about the money." At first, my heart skipped, because I thought she meant the money Mom had told me about in private. Those exact words from Mom, whispered just days before she passed, still rang in my ears. "Check the cedar box. It's for my burial." But I stayed calm. "What money, Linda?" I asked carefully. She gave me this smirk, the kind I remembered from childhood when she'd break my toys and then lie about it. "The funeral fund." "Relax. It wasn't yours anyway. That money was never meant for you." Mom told me to take it. My throat went dry. "What are you talking about?" "She asked me to be the one to handle it. She said it was her dying wish that the cash go to her burial expenses." Linda crossed her arms, glossy bracelets clinking together. "Oh, come on, Maggie." Mom was old. She got confused. She told me she didn't want to waste all that on some fancy coffin. She wanted me to have it for, well, to take care of things. The silence between us was deafening. I could hear the refrigerator humming in the kitchen, Benny's paws clicking against the hardwood as he came to sit at my feet. My chest tightened, as though Mom's voice was trying to shout through me, but I couldn't get it out. Finally, I whispered, "How much did you take?" She didn't even flinch. "All of it. About 47 grand. But don't worry, I'm putting it to good use. Down payment on the new condo near the lake. Besides, you don't need it. You've got your little pension, right?" That's when I felt something inside me break. A coldness spread across my skin, like ice water in my veins. She hadn't just robbed a bank account, she had stolen Mom's dignity, the very thing Mom cared about in her final days. I should have known when Linda insisted on handling the funeral home payments herself, brushing me off with a quick, "Don't worry, I got it." I should have seen it when the casket was the cheapest model, flimsy compared to what Mom and I had discussed. But I trusted her, my own sister. And now she stood in front of me, perfectly manicured, defending theft as if it were nothing. I felt something die inside me that night. I remember whispering, later in the mirror, not just trust, but the bond of sisterhood. That was Linda's first mistake, because little did she know. I wasn't the passive big sister she thought I was, the one who always cleaned up her messes. I had one card left to play, and it would change everything. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake in Mom's old guest room, staring at the ceiling fan making its slow, uneven turns. Every time I shut my eyes, I saw Linda's smug smile and heard her words. "It wasn't yours anyway." But something wouldn't let me sink into despair. Maybe it was the teacher in me, the problem solver. Or maybe it was Mom's voice still echoing, "Take care of it, Maggie." So, at 2:14 a.m., with Benny curled by my feet, I sat down at the dining table with a yellow legal pad. My pen shook as I wrote 2 words at the top. Find proof. The first breadcrumb came from the funeral home itself. 2 days later, I visited Mr. Callahan, the funeral director Mom and I had already planned everything with. His office smelled like polished wood and faint lilies, the kind Mom loved. "Mrs. Davis," he said, leaning forward kindly. "Everything went fine with the arrangements. But, I just wanted to say thank you for the quick payment." I frowned. "Quick payment? I never paid you anything." He hesitated. "Your sister Linda came in. She insisted on handling it. Gave us her own check. It wasn't even enough to cover what your mother picked out. So we had to downgrade." And that's when the pit in my stomach deepened. Linda hadn't even used Mom's money for the funeral. She used a personal check for something cheap and pocketed the entire envelope. Breadcrumb number 2 came from Mom herself. I went back to that cedar jewelry box, running my fingers along the carved lid. Inside, under a false bottom I hadn't noticed before, I found a folded slip of paper in Mom's graceful handwriting. Funeral cash savings. Approximately $47,000, hidden for final wishes, for Maggie to handle my throat closed. She had written it down. She trusted me, not Linda. This wasn't confusion. It was intentional. Breadcrumb number 3 was almost too easy. Linda loved to brag, especially online. That night, I opened Facebook and scrolled past her filtered photos, her new hair, her new handbags, until I landed on a post dated just 1 week after Mom's funeral. There it was, a shiny photo of her standing in front of Lakeview condos, captioned, "Sometimes you just have to reward yourself. Can't wait to start this new chapter by the lake. Blessed, Schacht's new home." The units there, I knew the exact price range, starting at $300,000. Linda didn't have that kind of money sitting around. She lived off commission checks that rose and fell like the seasons. Unless, of course, she'd bolstered her down payment with nearly $50,000 in stolen funeral funds. My realization hit like a spark. She left a trail, and I was going to follow it. I began piecing my plan together like a puzzle. The teacher in me knew the value of documentation, so I created a binder. Blue leather, Mom's favorite color. Every page was another nail in Linda's coffin. Mom's handwritten note naming me custodian of the money. Funeral home statement showing Linda paid a fraction of costs. Printouts of Linda's condo photos and property records from the county clerk's website. Exact address, purchase date, dollar amount. Screenshots of text messages where she admitted to using the money. I coaxed her into admitting more. Later, by asking seemingly innocent questions and saving her smug replies. As I filled each page, my anger sharpened into steel. This wasn't just hurt anymore, it was strategy. Of course, I had to move carefully. Linda thought she was untouchable. She once told me, "Maggie, you're too soft. That's why you always get stuck taking care of everyone." Me? I take what I need. That was her second mistake, because little did she know. I wasn't building a scrapbook. I was building a case. And the next step would take this quiet binder of evidence straight into the public eye, where Linda's polished facade would start to crumble. The first move wasn't confrontation. It was silence. I let Linda believe she had won. Every cheerful phone call, every smug little update about her condo by the lake, I played along. "Oh, Linda, that's wonderful," I'd say, as my pen slid across another page of evidence. All the while, I was timing my strike for the perfect moment, because revenge, I realized, is all about timing. That moment came 3 weeks later, during the reading of Mom's will at Attorney Harris's office. The room was small but formal, mahogany table, law books stacked behind glass, the faint smell of old leather. Present were me, Linda, her husband Derek, and Mr. Harris himself. Linda was dressed like she always did at important events. Designer blazer, diamond necklace, too much perfume that clung to the air. She twirled her hair like a teenager, clearly confident she'd walk away with everything. But I wasn't nervous. My binder sat neatly on the chair beside me, its blue cover pressed smooth like a trump card, waiting to be revealed. Mr. Harris cleared his throat. "Your mother's will was clear. The estate, aside from personal effects, is to be divided equally." Linda smirked at me, a smirk so sharp I almost laughed. She had no idea. Then Harris continued. Additionally, she made a handwritten note, separately, not part of the notarized will, asking that her funeral funds be handled specifically by Margaret. Linda tensed. Mom told me. That was her third mistake. She spoke before thinking. I leaned forward calmly. "Actually, Mr. Harris, I'd like to clarify something for the record." I slid the binder across the table, every page filled with dates, notes, receipts, screenshots. His brow furrowed as he turned the first page, then the next. "Is this?" Mr. Harris asked. "Evidence," I replied quietly. That Linda took nearly $47,000 of Mom's funeral savings. Not only did she fail to use it for those expenses, she purchased a property down at Lakeview Condos with it. The silence was deafening. You could hear the tick of Harris's old clock on the wall, each second digging deeper into Linda's mask of confidence. Her husband Derek turned to her, whispering harshly, "What the hell, Linda?" "You told me." Her face flushed red. Her voice stammered. That's a lie. Maggie's making this up." Before she could finish, I tapped the page showing her own Facebook post, condo address, and purchase date highlighted. Then a screenshot of her text to me. "I used it for the down payment." You'll understand one day Derek's chair scraped back. He stood, pale as chalk. "Unbelievable. You dragged me into this." And then came my checkmate. I looked at Mr. Harris squarely. "Since those funds were misappropriated, I request that they be recovered through civil action. The money was entrusted for one purpose, Mom's burial, and instead, Linda chose to enrich herself. I am prepared to pursue this through court if necessary." Mr. Harris adjusted his glasses. "Miss Davis is correct. This is not only a breach of fiduciary duty. Depending on interpretation, it could constitute fraud." Linda's bravado evaporated. "You wouldn't—" "You can't. I'm your sister, Maggie." I kept my voice even, though my heart thudded like a drum. "No, Linda. You stopped being my sister the moment you stole from Mom's grave." But I wasn't done, because the next step wasn't quiet. The county court filings are public record. Within 2 weeks, neighbors, clients, and even her real estate agency knew all about it. Her broker called me personally. "Margaret, I'm so sorry to bother you, but we have to put Linda on suspension until this matter clears up. This kind of press ruins trust. I didn't even have to lift a finger after that." The story spread faster than I imagined. The agent who stole from her dead mother's funeral fund. Clients dropped her boss distanced himself, and that polished, untouchable image of hers shattered overnight. The final twist? Public exposure meant the condo association caught wind. And since she wasn't upfront about her financing disclosures, they threatened to void her contract. The very condo Mom's money was meant to buy? Slipping right out of her manicured hands. Derek filed for separation 2 months later. Without her income, without the condo, without her husband's support, Linda had nothing left but humiliation. All I did was hand the truth to the right people. The truth did the rest. As I walked Benny around the block one evening, news of her suspension already circulating through neighbors, I couldn't help but think of Mom's voice again. Her whisper on that last frail night, "Take care of it, Maggie." And I had. Not just her funeral fund, I had taken care of her honor. Linda thought she could turn theft into entitlement, but she forgot one thing. I was the quiet one, the overlooked one, the patient one, and patience is deadlier than greed. That was her final mistake. It's been almost a year since that day in Mr. Harris's office, and the quiet, steady satisfaction of justice hasn't faded. Linda never did fully recover. The civil suit went through. She was ordered to return the $47,000, plus legal costs. Losing the condo was one thing, but the social fallout was devastating. Her reputation as the go-to real estate agent on the lake evaporated overnight. Nobody wants to buy a house from the daughter who stole from her mother's coffin. By winter, her car was repossessed. Derek filed the divorce papers, this time final, and at last Thanksgiving, our first without Mom, Linda wasn't at the table, neither invited nor missed. The silence, unlike before, wasn't deafening, it was peaceful. As for me, I made sure every dollar recovered went exactly where Mom wanted, to the saint, Anne's community cemetery, where she rests beside Dad, her name carved gently in polished granite, flowers blooming all summer long, no cheap corners cut. Sometimes I sit on that bench by her grave, with Benny curled at my feet, and I tell her everything. "You were right, Mom," I whisper. "Patience wins. Dignity matters, and I did take care of it. The lesson? Betrayal cuts deepest when it comes from family, but dignity, and the truth, cut sharper still." Linda thought she had silenced me with her arrogance, but in the end, it was her own greed, her own need to flaunt and boast, that gave me the power to take her down. And to those listening who've been betrayed, doubted, or dismissed as the quiet one, remember this. Sometimes your silence is your sharpest weapon. Let them think they've won. Let them underestimate you, because when the time comes, you'll strike with precision, and nothing will be sweeter than the justice that follows. Linda. Divorced, unemployed, her reputation shredded. Me. Retired peacefully, Mom's wishes honored, no guilt keeping me awake at night. The lesson: justice doesn't have to be loud, it just has to be patient and undeniable. And sometimes the sweetest victory is simply looking in the mirror and knowing, I did right by the woman who raised me, even if it meant losing the sister who betrayed me.